So if an owner doesn't have the capital to invest, we'll invest our capital and take a piece of the savings over a period of time. And then once that period of time is over, it goes away completely. The owner gets 100% of the savings. It's not a lien, or there's no liens, there's no UCC filings. It's not a loan. So if there are no savings, we don't make our money back. We target fairly high returns with that investment because it's a pretty high risk, without the liens and the UCC filings and all that stuff. And we found capital that has appetite for like ESG investments into the built environment.
Welcome to the How to Scale Commercial Real Estate Show. Whether you are an active or passive investor, we'll teach you how to scale your real estate investing business into something big.
Richard Randall is a former real estate professional converted to energy efficiency professional. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here.
Hey, man, the pleasure's mine. 3 questions I ask every guest who comes on the show in 90 seconds or less. Can you tell me, where did you start? Where are you now? And how did you get there?
Yeah. I started out as an asset manager running a large real estate portfolio in Denver. Right now, I'm the CEO of Echelon Energy, which has 15 employees who've been in business for a couple of years. Started the company right before COVID, and how I got here was kind of some dumb luck and trying to find opportunity and get creative, and saw an opportunity to basically create a business that helped solve a problem that I had a lot of success solving.
Gotcha.
So,
now, that success solving that problem came from your experience in real estate. Is that right? Like, you kind of figured out this business from working within real estate.
yeah, exactly. I was running a $1 billion real estate portfolio that was not hitting underwriting assumptions. We had a large institutional partner that was putting the heat on me to find a way to get back on track. I started to look at the P&L. There was nothing I could do on the revenue side, really. We were kind of maxed there, and saw utilities, which I had historically thought was an uncontrollable operating expense, and was able to work with some engineers kind of on the front end to find ways to reinvest back into our assets to cut our future utility expenses. And very first asset we ever did, we invested $1.6 million of capital, and we saved almost $1 million a year in utility expense. So, at a 4 or 5 cap, that's a lot of incremental value creation, and it really got my attention.
Yeah. I mean, that's what was the size of that property? I mean, such that you're spending $1 million a year in utilities.
Yeah, it was a 400 unit asset right in downtown Atlanta, built in 2005. It's student housing, so it's 1,200 student housing beds,
Right.
and it had a over $2 million a year utility bill.
Right, because on a student housing project like that, you're not direct billing utilities to the students. It's all kind of baked into their.
Correct, like a hotel.
Right.
You
So
pay
they
utilities at a hotel.
don't really care how high the heat is, as long as you're paying the bill. So that is a direct expense to you guys. And so, like you said, at a 5 cap, you save $1 million a year. You just created $20 million in additional value.
Exactly.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. Okay. So that's really cool. What did you do? Like, what are some things you figured out? You said, hey, here's how we can shave $1 million a year off our utility bill.
Yeah, so it really ran the gamut. The high level things are we did LED lighting. It was a large high rise asset with lots of 5 miles, I think, of 3 miles of corridor. So lots of lighting, a lot of HVAC controls. So that addressed kind of the electricity usage. So like smart thermostats that basically control where residents can put the set points. They have like occupancy sensor rollback. So if people leave for the summer, it knows that someone's not there, and it rolls back the AC to allow the heat to rise in the unit. It monitors humidity and all those sorts of things. We did a lot with high efficiency water fixtures. So like shower heads, toilets, aerators, flow management devices, smart irrigation controls. Those were kind of like the main ways that we reinvested back into the building. It also had a 800 space parking deck attached to it, which we did like a big lighting controls project on that used daylight harvesting. Like if it's a nice sunny day, all of the lights that were on the outer ring of the parking deck that was totally open to the exterior would either dim or turn off completely. So did a bunch of different things.
Right. Yeah. And it's small stuff like that. It takes a lot of probably planning on the front end, but obviously it pays huge dividends on the back end. How did you underwrite that? How did you take it back to your institutional partners and say, hey guys, I know we're already not hitting projections. I need another $1.5 million here because I think it's going to make us money.
Yeah, definitely. So it's very difficult, which is why we basically built this business to full turnkey work with owners. But I had to hire energy efficiency consultants that specialize in like ASHRAE level 2 energy audits. And that's like the gold standard kind of investment grade energy audit. Took like 4 or 5 months for them to put these projects together. So they run all the calculations, do all these things. They come back with their proposal. What's difficult about those proposals is the cost is not yet bid out because it was an engineer who put the proposal together. And so
Right.
you have to go to all these specialty contractors and they have to bid and you have to figure out exactly what to do and how you're going to execute the project and hire a construction manager and all these things. And then they go implement all the retrofits, and then once it's done, as an asset manager I had to figure out how to understand utility bills, which are more complicated than you would think. And so they put the proposal together, which took 4 or 5 months. I went to our investment committee. They said, hey, we've never seen anything like this before. You're already not hitting your numbers. We don't think it's going to work. We declined. So I originally got shot down at investment committee. Brought it back a few months later, after having made some other good decisions, and really believed in the program and was willing to kind of put my reputation and job on the line. You don't get to miss on a $1.6 million reinvestment and keep your job usually.
Right.
And so they eventually, I think they just got sick of hearing me, and they said, yes, go for it. And we did. And we told them it would save $400,000 a year, and it outperformed significantly.
Wow. Yeah, obviously significantly. And so from that, I'm sure they were chomping at the bit to execute this across your portfolio.
Yeah. And so we did. We saw a similar opportunity. The assets were smaller. That was 40% of our total utility expend across the portfolio. Saw similar opportunities. Everyone got really excited. They just launched their ESG, commitment in like 2019. And so this became a case study. They said, run with it. Do it to everything we own. And kind of through that, I realized exactly how complicated and time consuming it was for an asset manager of like a very large investment fund to do all this stuff. And I felt like you could build a business that did it for them. The full turnkey, kind of start to finish, soup to nuts projects.
Yeah. And so that's where you are today. And that's why you launched this company. You said, hey, look, I can do this start to finish for people all over the country.
Exactly. Yeah. So we started in 2020. We did like 10 projects in 2020. In 2021, we did like 60 projects in 25 states, and we have 15 employees. And we have like 400 properties in our pipeline right now.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's for people, especially in multifamily and especially in commercial real estate right now, they're trying to find any way they can, as you well know, to add a dollar to the bottom line. One, because of the cap rates they're trading at, and two, because we're running out of ways to effectively implement the value add strategy. So this is a really unique way to go about that. Is there a unit size or is there a property type that you really have to be at before this becomes, the payoff is there?
Yeah, it works from anything all the way down into duplexes, single family homes. And we're talking to large single family homeowners about this strategy and ways to deploy it there. So it can go all the way down into like residential, anything that uses utilities.
Right.
However, our company primarily focuses on large assets or large owners of lots of assets. And I'll give you an example. An AutoZone store is a very small building, but there's 8,000 of them. So that's like a really interesting opportunity, and you can cut utility expenses by millions of dollars a year across the portfolio. Or you can go after big assets like 400 unit apartment buildings. I would say the asset size, unless it's an owner of like a ton of small sites, typically it's like 100 units and above on the multi side. On the office side, it's like 30,000 square feet or higher. On the hotel side, it's like 100 keys or more. And on the retail side, it's probably like anything that's like a power center or above, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's really, really interesting. Is there one in particular that you guys have decided to focus in on?
Yeah, most of our work has been in the multifamily space, in niche multifamily. So affordable housing, senior housing, student housing, market rate, workforce, things that people live in is like 80% of the business that we've done kind of inception to date. Hospitality is like 10%. Hospitality is great, but we started the business right before COVID. And so hospitality owners were not in a position to reinvest back into our assets. And, they said, hey, this is awesome, but like, I'm just trying to make sure I don't default on my loan here.
Right.
So call me in a couple of years. And, once COVID is blown over and we're able to kind of get our heads back above water. Same with office. It was a tough time, but it works great in office, commercial assets. Retail and industrial, it's not as good for because a lot of time it's straight triple net.
Right.
And so all the savings go to the tenant, which are still good. If you can get lower triple nets or CAMs, you can push base rents higher. But it takes longer as the leases roll and whatnot. And, a lot of your big corporate tenants too, they might really see a lot of value in an owner coming to them and saying, I'm going to make this parking lot all LED lighting. It's going to improve the lighting. It's going to reduce your utility bill. You guys can take credit for that. And like the corporate governance, like sustainability strategy stuff, I'm going to reduce your irrigation expenses and we're going to make it as energy efficient as possible for you to be a tenant in this power center or something like that. I think there's value there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I would wonder anything where the utilities are direct billed to the tenant, I would assume is a harder sell to the owners of the property, right?
Yeah, that's what we're thinking about in the single family rental strategy right now. So we have a client that owns like 4,000 homes, but in that market, when a tenant moves in, they put all the bills in their name.
Right.
But so they don't even know what the utility expenses are to live in this house on, this corner, the one in 4,000. But they're really trying to get creative and figure out, well, how can they differentiate themselves from other houses that are available? And how can they turn this into a profit center? And so like one of the things we're exploring is, well, what if they became the utility? What if they put solar on all the rooftops? What if they took all the meters back in their name and they took the risk on energy usage and said, on average, to live in a house of 4,000 square feet in Denver, you're paid $300 a month in utilities. You just pay us $300 a month. We make this thing hyper efficient, and it costs us $100. And so you can make a $200 per unit per home per month spread on the utility usage.
Right. Certainly an advanced strategy across that many homes, and that'd be a really interesting deployment there. Talk to me about taxes. There's got to be some great tax savings, tax rebates. I mean, what's out there for this?
Totally. So there are really good utility incentives available in most markets. I'll use that project in Atlanta. I think we got like $150,000 worth of incentives from the utility company, which really improves your net return on invested capital kind of once the project's done. So you can, obviously when you're capitalizing things, you can take accelerated depreciation on these things. And so it helps with like taxable income, certainly. Right. And then the final thing is there's really good incentives for solar and batteries that are connected to solar. You can get federal tax credits. And I think right now they're like 26%. So say you're a real estate investor and you do $1 million solar installation at a property. And it's very likely that asset is in a loss position. So it doesn't necessarily help for you to have this big tax credit. So you have taxable income from something else, a business you run, W-2 income, you're a lawyer, whatever. You can take that solar tax credit, apply it to other income in ways that you can't take kind of passive real estate income and bring it into other things where you're active.
Right. Yeah, that makes a heck of a lot of sense. Talk to us about timeline to implement this. I mean, there's got to be a lot of studies and things in order for you guys to figure out if there's even an opportunity on a particular project. What's that look like? Yeah.
So our project, our process is fairly straightforward. We start with an initial analysis that's free to our clients. And with some basic information about the asset, we can tell you what we think the opportunity set is going to be. So those would be things like the T12 operating statement, so we can get the historical utility expenses and then details about the property. Is it a 100-unit multifamily asset in Memphis, Tennessee that was built in 1966? It hasn't been renovated? Yes, no, like some very basic questions. From there, we plug it into our model so we can model what the usage is. And we'll come back to an owner and we'll say, We think you can invest $100,000 back into your asset across these 8 energy conservation measures. You're going to get this $30,000 a year in savings, and there's $10,000 in utility rebates are available. We're like 80% accurate with that initial analysis. And a lot of times our clients say, that's awesome. Like, what's next? We'll say, well, we have to do a site visit. We have to confirm all these things. We have to like really detail bid the project. And so we'll do a site visit. For that, we charge a deposit towards the future project. So we don't charge a fee. It's a deposit that basically, if nothing happens, becomes a fee, but we like to use it against the future work because we do all the work turnkey. And what we're really after is projects, not fees. So we'll go on site, we'll do the audit, we'll get 12 months worth of actual utility bills, we'll build the energy model, and 2 to 3 weeks later, we'll come back with like the actual investment grade energy efficiency audit that's ready to be executed. When our clients say yes on a 100-unit multifamily asset in Memphis, Tennessee, it's typically 4 to 6 weeks before we're on site, kind of swinging hammers. And it takes us like a week and a half to 2 weeks to do all the retrofits. And then we do 12 months worth of cost avoidance reporting on the back end to show you how well it performed and give you the data. We also, I don't think I mentioned this, we'll performance contract. So if an owner doesn't have the capital to invest, we'll invest our capital and take a piece of the savings over a period of time. And then once that period of time is over, it goes away completely. The owner gets 100% of the savings. It's not a lien, or there's no liens. There's no UCC filings. It's not a loan. So if there are no savings, we don't make our money back. We target fairly high returns with that investment because it's a pretty high risk, without the liens and the UCC filings and all that stuff. And we found capital that has appetite for like ESG investments into the built environment.
Man, that's absolutely intriguing. I love just the creativity behind this, and and also just, let's not burn energy just for burning energy's sake. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So, you're both,
yeah, totally.
You're both not burning energy just to burn it, and you're also saving, investors a whole pile of money. And I also like the creative way you're financing those out. I think that's super intriguing. Who are some direct competitors maybe to what it is that you're doing right now? Are there other people in the space, and is it a challenging environment right now to be doing what you're doing?
Yeah. So direct competitors, we don't really have any direct competitors that do the full chain, but we do have kind of tangential competitors. So like the energy efficiency engineers that sell audits, that's a tangential competitor. The specialty contractors and technology providers sometimes will try to sell directly to owners. That's a tangential competitor. And then there are like data collection and aggregation platforms, which would be like also a tangential competitor. I don't know of any one group that's trying to roll up the full strategy for owners, which is former owners. We think that's very important because if you're a busy real estate investor, you don't have like a big team and you can't work with like 8 different companies. You kind of want one group to handle your property taxes, your utilities, your property management, your investor reporting. Like, you don't want to deal with 8 companies if you don't have to.
Right. That's absolutely right. And that's, I love it. And my question, not who was, I wasn't actually asking you to give the who was your competitor, but like what type of competitors out there exist, because I haven't heard of this before. So that's absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed this, Richard. Thank you for taking the time to come on today. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, learn more about what you guys do, and take advantage of your services, what is the best way to do that?
Yeah, so our website is www.echelonenergy.com, ECHELON energy.com. You can email me at richard@echelonenergy.com, or my cell phone's 303-653-5820, and that'll go directly to me. My partner and I still do most of the business development, and our team executes on all the engineering and construction management.
Man, I love that. Richard, thank you again for your time today. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sam.